Hello, this is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming new moon in Sagittarius, which will be exact on December 17th at 10:30 p.m. Pacific time in the US, which is also LA time, or December 18th at 1:30 a.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time. And this new moon will be exact at 26.5 degrees of Sagittarius. And as always with any new moon, I'll be talking about setting some powerful intentions for the next 28 days and give you the best and most potent times to do so at the end of this video. All right, so stay tuned for sure. And with the new moon being an optimistic, adventurous, truth-seeking Sagittarius, we seek to really just expand our day-to-day knowledge and to go beyond our day-to-day experience or day-to-day information and look at the larger picture and the larger truth of things. So you will really want to ask yourself with this new moon, what might I see if I zoomed out for the wider view? So it's really kind of like, when you look at a point and then all of a sudden you allow yourself to see your whole peripheral vision, and not just what you're looking at. And that's really kind of what Sagittarius is all about. And another question you can ask yourself, does my life as it is now reflect my philosophy and vice versa? Right? Great questions. Now the new moon is closely aligned with Saturn and Venus in Sagittarius, and Mercury, which is still retrograde, is also in Sagittarius at the time of the new moon. So lots of Sagittarian energy here, right? And so this really spurs the question about our assumptions that we have, right? And we've talked about these several times in the last 3 years because Saturn has been in Sagittarius, right? But you can really ask yourself with this new moon for the next 28 days, what fundamental assumptions do I make about others, about life itself, about love, because Venus is there too, right? About my relationships, right? And what does my direct experience show me? Because with Sagittarius, it's always also about what am I experiencing and what do I make that mean, right? So what stories or what assumptions or what assertions do I make from what I'm currently experiencing, right? Now, take a look at your conditioning and your programming as well, right? So anything that you were that you grew up with in terms of the part of the world that you grew up in and the town or the city, your parents, the religious background, what messages did you receive from your parents, teachers, religion, culture, right? What messages were kind of inducted into your upbringing, right? And how does my actual experience differ from what I was taught, right? And that's very essential, I think, is to really distinguish between what's been put in there, what are the filters that have already been put in there in childhood, and what is actually your direct experience, right? And to, again, zoom out a little bit to see, not to get caught in the filters. And where do I still follow old programming rather than listen to the wisdom of my heart and soul? And of course, with all of my questions, as most of you know who watch my videos on a regular basis, you can access them also on my website at AstrologerCoach.com via the weekly forecasts after December 17th. That's when everything will be posted. And you can also sign up to receive my weekly forecasts via email in the future if you send us an email to info@astrologercoach.com and then just write weekly forecasts in the subject line. All right, so all of that is available. And again, also the questions are mainly so that you can align yourself with the energies. You can investigate the energy in a more inquisitory way by asking the questions, either by journaling, by meditating on them, or just by keeping the questions in the back of your mind as you go through the next 28 days. All right, now back to the new moon in Sagittarius. Saturn is in its last degree of Sagittarius in 29 degrees and is therefore exalted at the time of the new moon. And it's going to move into Capricorn until 2020, a little less than 2 days after the new moon becomes exact. So it's really like just still in Sagittarius. It's like just about to move out, right? And so this really heightens the universal request for us to take responsibility for our own perceptions and attitudes towards life. It's like we're getting a last chance, to take a really good look at our horizons, and we get to think again, but this time, with maturity and realism. It's all about, Saturn is all about, it's got to be real, it's got to be truthful, it's got to be in alignment with who we actually are. So all these larger truths and these belief systems and these stories that we have about life, they got to be real, they got to be truthful about who we are now, not who we were, years ago or when we were growing up, right? And so it directs us to really discard outdated beliefs and determine our own indicators for progress, for truth, and for fulfillment. What's important to us, right? And how do we see life, And so here you can really ask yourself, what do I see from where I stand right now? And what is my understanding about life right now in this moment? And how does my perception of myself and my life changed in the last 3 years? Because that's how long Saturn has been in Sagittarius already, right? So for the last 3 years, how has my perception of myself and my life changed in the last 3 years? And if you want to know how Saturn's journey in Capricorn will impact you for the next 3 years, which is coming up, right? Feel free to either purchase my 90 plus minute webinar on the subject, or I also have a 30-minute excerpt from that webinar on YouTube and on my website, which you can also watch, just to get a sense if that's something that you want to dive in more deeply and get the whole 90 plus minute webinar. Okay, so that's available either on YouTube or on my website at AstrologerCoach.com. Now let's talk a little bit more about the new moon. The sun and the moon, which are always aligned and connected at the time of the new moon in Sagittarius, also make a trine to Uranus and a square to Chiron. So Uranus is in Aries right now, Chiron is in Pisces right now. Now the trine to Uranus, let's start there. What does that mean? It really means that there's a flow and a connection around our excitement with our vision for the future and our willingness to try something new and maybe break away from old, outdated ways of doing things, right? We're really sort of like seeing the potential of something. We're seeing the ability to move forward, but in a responsible and in a committed kind of a way, because it is connected to Saturn, right? As well as to the new moon. Now, you could ask yourself here, what if I took 5% more responsibility for my own reality? And in what ways could this be the key to creating a better future? A better future for myself, a better future for humanity, a better future for my communities, all of that. So just kind of like allow yourself to sit with those questions in regards to that aspect. Now let's talk about the square to Chiron. That's a big one, and I think we've sort of like covered that a little bit already throughout the year, because Saturn has been squaring Chiron quite a bit this year in 2017, right? And now with Chiron squaring the new moon, it's sort of like this new moon kind of like reflects a lot of the issues and stories that have already been in place for several months, right? And the square to Chiron, which is also known as the wounded healer, is asking us to take a closer look at any old wounds and memories of shame or separation that we've experienced in the past or in our upbringing, right? And if we get triggered, because the wound can easily get triggered, when we get triggered, we can look to see where in the past has that trigger originated? Where does this really come from? Because yes, we get triggered in the moment of now, but it's usually connected to something that's older than what's actually going on in the now moment. And this is very important to recognize and to look at, because when we can see the origination of that trigger, it's more easy to give ourselves some compassion and understanding, and give that inner wounded child that has experienced shame or abandonment or separation in some way, to give that inner wounded child some compassion and some love and be kind and gentle to that part of ourselves. Because when we get triggered, we do regress into a much earlier age. We're no longer the age that we are now. We tend to regress. And so as humans, we certainly can experience pain, we can experience shame, separation, but we can heal through unconditional love, and we can heal through self-acceptance. And that is part of the spirit-human alliance that can make that happen. Because we're not just conditioned human beings, we also have a higher self, we have a spirit, we have a soul, and that part of ourselves is very capable of tapping into unconditional love, tapping into self-acceptance and compassion, right? And that's what we have to draw on in order to really create some healing in our lives. So something you can ask yourself here with this particular square is, what might be possible if I was willing to just be with my insecurities and my past wounding without needing to fix them? And that is so essential and so important. And another question you can ask yourself, what if my attempts to fix these insecurities or wounding that I have experienced in the past, what if that was actually keeping me from seeing the divine perfection of it all? And also from seeing the gift that the wound holds for me. Because every wound also in its wounding carries a tremendous amount of gift and gold. And that's the gift and the gold that we can give to the world. And so it's very important by honoring the gift, by not trying to fix it, we're actually honoring the gift. We're honoring the gold that the wound holds. And so what if my attempts to fix these insecurities or wounds was what was actually keeping me from seeing the divine perfection and the gift of it all? And so rather than looking to be saved, which is something that we tend to want to experience with Chiron and Pisces in particular, and if you have that natally, you may feel that more strongly. We are learning with Chiron and Pisces, we're really learning to ultimately embody our own divinity. That's the goal. The goal is to approach our relationship to our intuition, to our sensitivities, to our own divinity in a way that really allows us to fully connect on all levels, the mental, the spiritual, the emotional, the physical, and to realize that we are all divine beings and that we live accordingly, knowing that everyone and everything is connected, that we're all connected in that pool of energy, in that pool of divinity, because that's really all there is. All there is energy. Everything is energy. Right? And in that pool of energy, we're all connected. We're all one. And so for those of you who are a little bit more curious about the Chiron journey and who want to explore it on a deeper level, I just want to invite you to take a look at the Chiron workshop that I offer on my website called Healing with Astrology. If you haven't seen it yet, this will be the last chance to actually be able to purchase that workshop before my new website goes up. That won't be longer available at that point. So if that's something that's of interest to you, feel free to dive in and get yourself that workshop on my online courses page if you go to my website, okay? Now, as the ruler of Sagittarius, we definitely need to talk about Jupiter, right? Because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And so we're curious, how is Jupiter connected to this new moon chart? Now, Jupiter is currently in Scorpio and is making a trine to Neptune in Pisces and is squaring the moon nodes. So let's talk about that step by step, right? So Jupiter trining Neptune, that is a very nice supporting aspect where we really feel the flow of that Neptune energy connecting to our understanding of going deeper and our understanding of our spiritual realities and beyond everything that we even comprehend on mental level, we're just kind of like more open to really tapping into that pool of water or that pool of energy, right? And Neptune really represents unconditional love. So with Neptune trining Jupiter in this new moon chart, that really supports the opening of our heart and connecting more fully to our spiritual realities and how we experience our connection to our higher self, to soul, to source, right? And to go beyond our previous understanding of what that might be. So, because we live in a physical reality, most of us feel that physical limitation of like, well, if I can't see it, it's not true, right? But with Jupiter trining Neptune, we're getting a stronger sense of what's beyond those physical realities and tapping more into the intuitive, more into the stuff that's beyond the physical, sort of like the sixth sense stuff, right? And so Neptune represents unconditional love. And this is not based on personal preferences or our ego or personalities, but it is really the remembrance that we are all part of the same pool of energy. We're all part of the cosmos, part of the universe. We are all here for the same reason, which is we want to explore and evolve on a soul level. And we're using the vehicle of the human body to do so. And so Neptune in Pisces is really asking us to have faith in the infinite support that we receive every day from the universe, that connection, that infinite connection, that energetic pull that we're in, that there's always support there, right? And whether our mind understands that or not is not necessarily important, because the mind cannot comprehend what is beyond the mind, right? And so Neptune and these energetic connections are beyond the mind in a sense. So it's not really something that we can rationally understand, but we can tap into it from our heart. We can tap into it from intuitive sensing and from our sixth sense, right? And so seeing through the illusion of separation from the divine or from the universe or from our higher selves, from soul, from source, is perhaps the greatest perspective shift of all that we're learning to make right now. And with Jupiter being in Scorpio, it provides the ability to go into the depths of that, and with the Neptune trine that supports us in allowing us to make that perspective shift and to see beyond those physical limitations. So you can ask yourself here, what might be possible if we allowed ourselves to glance past our filters and glimpse to the truth of who we truly are, beyond the physical, right? Beyond just the human experience of our five senses, right? Now, Jupiter in Scorpio also squares the moon nodes in Leo Aquarius. So what is that all about? Well, a square always asks us to create a shift, to make a 90-degree turn, to gain a new perspective, to grow, to stretch ourselves, right? And so we're really being asked here with Jupiter in Scorpio to share our deepest secrets in order to help transform past traumas, and in order for us to be able to move more into our personal joy, into individuating on a personal level more fully, and in order to create a better future for all of us, right? And so especially when it comes to, our intimate relationships, when it comes to deep emotional connections, when it comes to the sharing resources with other people, we're really being invited right now to kind of explore that on a deeper level and create a new perspective there, so that we can step more fully into that Leo energy, that we can step more fully into a place of joy and appreciation and gratitude and all that stuff, right? So we're definitely needing to, shift our focus a little bit here, right? From like, on the one hand, wanting to have fun, wanting to express ourselves more with that Leo energy. On the other hand, we're being asked to expand and learn about our inner experience, our deeper issues, and to find a new perspective, who we are deep down and how we can share that and communicate it so we can shine consciousness and light onto those deeper issues, right? So it is important to actually maybe even make these issues bigger so we can see more what they're all about. It's like that magnifying glass that Jupiter likes to put onto things. If this new moon had a core message, right? If we had to sum it all up, it's really about honoring old patterns and struggles while releasing our attachments to them. And as best as you can, provide yourself with compassion and understanding. Embrace your own humanity in all its extraordinary capabilities and in its healing capacities, because as human beings, we have a tremendous amount of resilience. We have a tremendous amount of capacity to tap into so many things. I mean, it's just so incredibly complex to be a human. So we can ask ourselves, why am I here? Where am I going? What beliefs call out for reassessment? What do I believe and what do I simply know? And where do I need to take a leap of faith? Or simply just trust that, things are perfectly unfolding as they need to be, and just be open to shifting your perceptions. This new moon in Sagittarius is really our last sort of like chance for this year, for 2017, to make that shift, right? And so it's a little bit louder right now, right? So for the next 28 days. And so ask yourself, where have I made assumptions, and what have I noticed in these past 3 years about that, and which one of my filters could I do without for a while, just as an exercise in freedom? And that's a really good one. And I want to just invite you to continually asking yourself that for the next 28 days. Which one of my filters could I do without just for a while, just as an exercise in freedom? Just to see how it would shift your perspective, right? Or your perception of things. And, when you talk about filters, it's anything that you kind of like, you're so used to it, you may not even know it's a filter, but like certain things that you were born into or that you were trained into believing from a very early age on. And if you just took that filter away just for a day even, or just for an hour, right? Like what would that present? What would present itself to you if you did that, right? Now keep looking at what needs to heal as well, right, for the next 28 days, and keep taking responsibility for the deeper issues in your life. Ask yourself, where am I being challenged to be with what is? And what does spiritual maturity mean to me? And again, with all these questions, you don't have to use all of them, right? Just use whatever resonates most with you, whatever you feel like could support you in aligning yourself with the energies of the new moon in Sagittarius. And feel free to do whatever works best for you with these questions. You don't have to journal if you don't want to journal. You don't have to meditate if you don't want to meditate. But just use them in whichever way works best for you. Now, if you do have an ascendant or any personal planets in 24 to 29 degrees of Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, or Pisces, then this new moon is definitely going to feel going to have more an impact. Then this new moon is definitely going to have more of an impact on you. But even if you don't have personal planets in those degrees and signs, you want to take a look at the house placement in your natal chart where this new moon lands, and that way you're going to get a sense which area of your life is going to get activated for the next 28 days, and in which area of your life you're really going to need to take a closer look at where you might have to shift some perspectives, or where you might need to zoom out or expand your point of view a little bit more. Now, take a look at where is 26.5 degrees of Sagittarius in your natal chart. And once you find that, just look to see what house is it in. And then if you don't know how to do that, or if you don't have a birth chart, feel free to watch my video, How to Read Your Birth Chart. That's available for free on YouTube or on my website. If you want to access it through my website, it's on the page that has all my astrology videos. So look for that. But if you can't find it, you can also email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write recording in the subject line, and we will just email you that recording with some handouts as well, so that way you can watch it. And towards the end of that video, there will be a description of how to get yourself a drawing or a visual of your birth chart for free online. All right, and you will also learn how to apply what I share in my videos and my weekly forecasts to your own birth chart. So it's a really great basic video, for all of that. And it's also really great to watch before you join my monthly forecasting forums. And if you don't know what they are yet, then stay tuned. I will be talking about them a little bit more in detail, and also about setting intentions. But first, I would like to just make a really quick, exciting announcement about my business, which I have already done in previous videos. But just for those of you who haven't heard it yet, I'm in the process of creating an amazing online community for all of you who love astrology, for all of you who want to explore themselves on a deeper level and live life more consciously. And this online community is really going to be something where I'm trying to bring people together and have more access to how we can use the tool of astrology and some of my other tools that I use in a way that support us on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and monthly basis, right? So I still don't have a launch date yet, unfortunately. I wish I could say I did. But unfortunately, things with the Mercury retrograde and everything, things are just delaying just a tad bit. But it will happen soon, very soon. And when it does, things will kind of change a little bit. The way my website is set up right now is going to completely change. My prices and fees for readings and astrology courses, and for the monthly forecasting forum, for the coaching healing sessions, all of that will change. So if you want to take advantage of how the fees are currently on my website, I just want to encourage you to take advantage of that right now. And I also will honor all the services that are being purchased right now for a whole year. So for all of 2018, I will honor it rather than my usual 6 months. That is what I usually do. So that way, if you do want to purchase several readings or several coaching sessions or several courses or whatever, it's all going to be available to you for much longer, okay? Now, let's talk briefly about the monthly forecasting forums so we can get to the setting the new moon intentions, right? So for those of you who don't know yet what that's about, is I really created those forums for all of you who want a little bit more of support rather than just the videos that I'm doing on a bi-monthly basis, because the videos, they're great information, but it doesn't really support you personally to apply it to your own life in a more specific way. And so the forums are designed to do just that, so that you can really use your own birth chart in relationship to what the energies are doing every month. And that way you really get a better sense of, how you can align yourself with that and what it all means, and how you can have a better understanding of that for yourself. So it's really about learning about your own birth chart, learning about how to connect what the transits with your birth chart and how to interpret that, right? And I'm going to support you each month with doing so, all right? And I also take questions and interact with you guys on that level. Now, you can always sign up to join the webinar live, or you can also register to get an MP4 video presentation of the webinar within 24 hours of the live event. Everyone that signs up or registers gets that video presentation. So even if you join live, you have a video also to watch several times afterwards as well. And it's really the most valuable thing besides getting a one-on-one reading with me, I would say, And it's a 90-minute webinar, and you can register now at AstrologerCoach.com. The one thing that I will say for the next webinar that's coming up, it will be on January 3rd at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time, New York time, and 9 p.m. London time. And we will talk about a preview for 2018. So this first webinar, this first monthly forecasting forum of 2018 will be slightly different from what I usually do, because usually I really just focus on what's going on for the month. But this webinar will be a preview for 2018, so we can kind of get sort of like an overview to see how is 2018 going to unfold and what does it mean, right? And I may not be able to do to use the natal chart too much with that particular forum, because I'm going to be covering a lot. But for the rest of the year, we will dive more fully into our own birth charts. All right. Now, you can ask questions. You can ask questions in advance as well. There is a registration form at the bottom of the monthly forecasting forum page on my website. So feel free to fill that out and ask questions. And if you can relate the questions to something that's connected to 2018, if the questions are a little bit too detailed or too personal, or if there are too many of them, I may not be able to go into detail or, answer them all, right? But I will always do my best to answer as many questions as possible. All right. So now we will talk about the new moon intentions, the moment we have all been waiting for, right? Now, to set some powerful intentions, as most of you know, we want to do that right after the new moon becomes exact, and we do want to avoid moon void, of course, phases. So this month, the best and most potent time to set intentions would be any time between 1:30 a.m. On December 18th until 8:10 a.m. December 18th, and that's New York time, East Coast time in the US. And then we have a moon void, of course, for a very brief period. And so then we can start again with setting intentions from 8:33 a.m. on December 18th until 1:30 a.m. on December 20th. So there's like the whole day of December 19th, basically, we can set intentions. Now, all of this is New York time and US Eastern time. But if you do live in a different time zone, I just want to let you know that you can either put those time zones in a time zone converter online, or you can join me on my Facebook fan page or my Twitter page to if you join there, I will be posting throughout those most potent times several times. And every time a post like that pops up, that's the time for you to set your intentions. You can just put down pen and paper and you don't have to worry about what time it is, right? So that's another way to do it if that's easier. And if you want to have a little bit more support with setting new moon intentions, if this is your first time doing so, you can do that but either by going on my Facebook fan page. You check out the notes sections. There is an article about how to set new moon intentions. Unfortunately, that can only be accessed via a computer, not via an iPhone or Android phone. So you would have to do it via computer, or you can go to my website and then go to my weekly forecasts page and then look for astrology articles on the left side of that page and click on the link that says astrology articles, and then you can look for the new moon article, setting new moon intentions article there as well. So that's also available on my website if you want to do it via a phone. And again, all the questions from this video are also available on my website after December 17th in the evening. And if you want to get them via email, just email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write weekly forecast in the subject line, and we will email that to you. If you don't want to receive weekly forecasts, if you don't want to receive emails that often from me, but you do want to know what's going on in my business or what's going on with my courses or announcements that I'm making or special offers that I'm giving, or my videos that I'm posting, if you want to hear about all of that, then sign up for my newsletter that gets sent out twice a month, sometimes 3 times a month, but mostly twice a month. And That newsletter, basically you just send an email again to info@astrologercoach.com and just write newsletter in the subject line, and that's it. All right. So then my assistant will know where to add you, what mailing list, and that way you only get what you want to receive. Okay. Now, if you have any general questions about the new moon or about astrology, I'm happy to answer general questions. If you want to send them to me at Sonja@astrologercoach.com. General questions are always okay. However, if the question has anything to do with you personally or with your birth chart, I will ask you to book a reading with me, because it will take up a lot more of my time. I'm not going to be able to pull up people's charts in order to answer questions. But you also can get questions answered via the monthly forecasting forums if you have something where you want me to take a look at your birth chart. So all of that is available. And if you want to book readings with me before the fees go up, go to my website now at AstrologerCoach.com. All right, so have a good one. Have a fantastic new moon. Remember, it's an introverted time. It's a time to go within, where we're learning to tap into the energy of the new moon so we can start to create something new for the next 28 days. All right? Okay, this is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.